We've been blessed with quite a few amazing endurance races and events that's already passed, like for example the Epic, as well as the Two Oceans Ultramarathon in 21K, and a lot coming up. The Ironman in PE this weekend. We also looking forward to the Comrades and so many more. You might be doing an ultra distance trail running event or swimming or multi-day stage race, whatever it might be. If you are an endurance athlete or an endurance enthusiast, I think this video might be helpful to you. So today I want to talk about the importance of nutrition and fueling effectively when you are doing something like an endurance race or something that's going to take a little bit longer than just, for example, a 20-minute Body 20 training session. So before we start, I just want to introduce myself. Hello again, my name is Melissa Null. I'm a registered dietitian and I have a special interest actually in sports nutrition. I'm part of the Body 20 Nutrition Doctor team and we do these videos every 2 weeks, so please follow along. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments or even via WhatsApp or email. And you're also welcome to send us any topics if there are any that you are specifically interested in or would like us to address. So back to endurance sport and nutrition. So in triathlon, for example, that's my passion personally. I always say that nutrition is the fourth discipline. So you have the three disciplines, the swimming, the cycling, and the running, and nutrition would be the fourth. But that is definitely also the case in any other endurance sport. Endurance sport, I would say, is anything that's lasting longer than an hour and a half, for example, where you will be needing to fuel additionally to just having something before your training session. The reason for that is when we look at the glycogen stores, which is your energy, let's call it your energy stores in your liver as well as in your muscles, where the glucose, which is your fuel source, gets stored. That actually gets depleted after 60 to 90 minutes of a training session. So if you are doing something that's of longer duration, you are going to run out of fuel and you actually therefore need to be replacing it with a carbohydrate specific gel or bar or drink or food source or whatever you might fancy. So today I want to talk about the importance of that and things that you need to consider when you are planning your race strategy and also just taking into consideration your nutrition strategy. So first off, let's talk about the pre-event. So I'm going to take the Ironman as an example, seeing as it is this weekend. You definitely want to make sure that you are having sufficient amount of fuel before the event. So the event is taking place on Sunday, so you definitely want to look at carbo loading as a very, popular term. You want to look at carbo loading at least 3 days before the event. So this means that you definitely want to increase your consumption of carbohydrate-rich meals or drink for at least 3 days before the event. So it doesn't mean that you now have to go and eat massive amounts of pasta and rice and chips and sweets and sugary things just to load for let's say Sunday's event. It just means that you just need to add a little bit extra. This can be in the form of a carbohydrate drink, whether it be a Biogen, USN or High Five or whatever brand you enjoy with your meals, or it could then just be an extra portion of carbohydrates with your meals. Try not to go over the top, because this might actually cause you to feel a bit bloated, because it is quite important to remember that for every gram of carbohydrate you store as glycogen, you also store 3 grams of water, which is great because that also means that you are hydrating the body effectively, which is what we want for the event. But we actually don't want you to feel, overly heavy and overly bloated because you've been, chomping down the carbs for the past week or so. So be mindful of, making sure that you are having a carb-rich diet before the event or incorporating a little bit more carbohydrates in your day-to-day, but it doesn't need to be over the top. It doesn't need to make you feel uncomfortable or bloated or nauseous or anything like that. Together with carbohydrates, you can also think about replenishing and stocking up on your electrolytes and your hydration or your water in your body. So thinking about an electrolyte drink could be, those zero fizzies that doesn't have any sugar necessarily, or it could be a combination of a carbohydrate and an electrolyte drink, just to make sure you are putting in quite a significant amount of electrolytes into your body. Because remember, if we look at salt and water follows salt into the cells. So if you're just going to have lots of water throughout the day and no electrolytes, that actually might be diluting the electrolytes, and that's not what we want. So it definitely is important to also be replacing those electrolytes in the next few days, or loading with them, if you want to call it that. So that's the pre-event. Then, of course, the morning of the event, or just before the start, you definitely want to have a good quality breakfast. Now, the very most important thing that I would say when it comes to any event is to never try anything new on race day. You don't want to try a new porridge or a new gel or a new set of tackies, for example, a pair of tackies. You actually want to stick to what you know, but it is important, that's why, to also train with these things beforehand and really see how that accommodates with your body. So make sure you're having a good quality breakfast that contains carbohydrates and some protein and a bit of fat, but not too excessive amounts of fat, because that will delay the stomach emptying, which might cause the food to linger too long in the stomach, which might cause a bit of gastric distress. So things like a Future Life in the morning, or a cereal like Pro Nutro with some milk and a banana and a little bit of peanut butter is a good option, or oats if you enjoy having oats in the morning. It could also be something like, for example, eggs and some toast if that's something you fancy. So stick to what you know, but it is important to start your race well fueled. Then, of course, just before the race, maybe 30 minutes before the start, whether it be a running event or a triathlon or whatever it might be, make sure you're having a good quick release carbohydrate, something like a banana or a bar, or again a drink if you'd like. And then, of course, in your race, you need to make sure that you are consuming around 30 to 90 grams, depending on you as person, how effectively you use fuel. So this has to be something that you've trained in your sessions before you're doing an event, whether you like to stick to 30 grams, maybe if you're smaller built, or going up to 90 grams if you are bigger built, to make sure that you are replacing those carbohydrates. 90 grams per hour of carbohydrates might also be necessary for very long events, and breaking it up throughout the event is also really crucial. Try not to just gulp it down in one sitting, because that is definitely going to cause a bit of stomach issues. So maybe try to sip on a drink throughout the day, or maybe take a gel, for example, and then you spread it out throughout the day, that it doesn't go into the stomach all at once. The same with electrolytes. You definitely want to replace your electrolytes throughout the event, so that you don't dilute it and cause issues with low sodium or low hyponatremia, which is actually very dangerous. So make sure you are fueling throughout the session with either gels or a drink or food, whatever you prefer, but try to stick to around 30 to 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour. Then, of course, it also is important not to overdo it on the fats and proteins in the event, mainly because it is going to slow down the how fast the food's going to move throughout the stomach, or out of the stomach into the blood cells. And then if the food sticks around in the stomach for too long, it's going to actually draw water into the stomach to get it out, and that's when you might start getting a stitch, or even a runny tummy, which we definitely would want to avoid at all costs. And then, of course, afterwards, recovery is so important. So especially if you are doing a multi-day event, it's definitely important to recover as soon as possible. On that note, with a multi-day event like, for example, the Epic or the Sani 2C, you definitely need to think about the next day already during your training, during your event for that day. So you don't want to deplete yourself so much that you need to overcompensate with recovery, and you might not even be able to recover optimally for the next day. So make sure that in your first day and your second day, however many days there are in your stage, that you at least make sure that you aren't depleting your body by making sure you are consuming those carbohydrates and enough electrolytes and enough fluid throughout the event, that you're not completely depleted afterwards. So I hope this has been helpful. Let us know if you have any questions, and good luck if you are doing any races this weekend or the upcoming months, and then we'll see you in the next one.